about the decision at the death for feeder? What were your thoughts?
Oh. What I don't understand with that one, if you look at some of the other tries, I think it was the first try that England scored, and Andrew Fafita looks like he gets his arm underneath, and we look at that as many times as we possibly can, to try and find a way to find that he hasn't put his arm underneath. You look at Tavita Pangai's try, which it's a try every day of the week, it's only got to touch the line, and we would have looked at that a dozen times. Then when the game's on the line, I don't know if it's a try or not because I haven't seen it again, but I would have thought that in those circumstances, there's no way in the world you don't have a look at it. And that really surprises me.
Do you feel you were wrong?
Oh, look, I don't know. I just can't believe we don't have a look at that. The game's on the line. It's the last play of the game. As I said before, you look at other tries 10, 12 times, and we don't have a look at that. I really don't understand that.
Kristian, spectacular finish, but why did it take you guys so long to fire a shot?
Look, I don't think that was quite the case, to be honest. I thought for very, very long periods, we were on top of that game. We like what has done this tournament. We're a little bit ill-disciplined when we need to be better. That gave England field position at times. England did a terrific job with their fifth play. They really suffocated us with the way they kicked, and they deserve credit there. We had 3 or 4 opportunities well before that last 10 or 15 minutes, and for whatever reason tonight, opportunities that we've taken in past games, we just weren't able to take. And Dave Fusatua, for example, he's been absolutely outstanding. He's made that play 4 or 5 times this tournament, and unfortunately just didn't quite get it right tonight. Daniel Tupou drops the ball with the line wide open. We just didn't quite get there tonight with a couple of opportunities that we've created. And, again, England deserves some credit there as well. They certainly defended extremely well for very, very long periods of that game. But like I said, I thought we certainly did enough to win that game at different times. Our execution was just a little bit off when it counted. What the blokes really deserve credit for is at no stage in that game, even when things weren't going our way, and there's a lot of things that didn't go our way and a lot of times, whether it be our own execution, whether it be the 50-50 calls. It's just one of those games where not a lot went our way. But I could not be any prouder of a group of men than what I am, and the way they just hung in, kept trying. That's why the scorelines ends up as close as it is, because these blokes just didn't want to give up and didn't want to go away. And as I said, I could not be prouder of it.
Kristian, what do you make of the middle try? Did you think Fafita got his hand?
I thought there was enough doubt, given the fact that it hadn't been given a try by the referee, that it could have went our way. As I said, it was just one of those nights where, for one reason or another, every 50-50 seems to go the other way.
What about Jennings passing off the ground? What do you make of that call?
Oh, look, I could probably live with that one. I thought his arm hit the ground, and I could certainly live with that one.
Kristian, why do you think all those calls get against you?
Oh, look, I don't know. Sometimes that happens in footy. As I said, the only thing I'd question is how we don't go back and have a look at that last play. Again, like I said before, I just cannot get my head around when the game's on the line we don't have a look at it. That's certainly something I'd love to know the reasons why.
Well, you spoke to anyone higher up about that decision?
Oh, yeah, we've got to ask the question. It doesn't matter now, but because the game's done, but you've certainly got to ask the question for your own peace of mind.
Should Chechen control the final? Kristian on that performance?
Look, I'd probably prefer not to comment.
Sika, what was the communication like with the referee? Did you urge him to check that last play?
I wasn't on the field at the end of the game, but I'm with Woolf here. I just don't see why they didn't have a look at it. He sort of just caught it and then walked away.
Obviously pretty disappointed, Sika, but there's been a lot of Tongans who, even though they're a bit disappointed, they're still supporting you guys. Can maybe you both just give a message out to the Tongan people that support you guys throughout this tournament?
Yeah, well, like you said, obviously disappointed, but we like to thank our Tongan fans. They've been crazy throughout the whole tournament. I don't think you'll ever see a nation support as much as Tonga does. And they've been there for the whole tournament, and we really appreciate their love and support.
Kristian, how proud you would be staying, and will you stay on this time?
Yeah, look, I'm extremely proud of this group, as I said before. I don't think I've ever been prouder of a group of men. And not just, and I probably didn't get a chance to give a message then, but you can certainly take some of this. So not just for what they've done on the field. I don't think I've been involved with a group that have united a group of people so much. The support that we've received has been absolutely overwhelming. It's been like that since day one. And through the way that these blokes conduct themselves off the field, conduct themselves and the effort they put in on the field, that's why they've been able to unite a nation like they have, and not just it's not just Tonga. A number of the Pacific Islanders in general that have bailed me up over the last week. Just extremely proud to call themselves Pacific Islanders or to call themselves Tongan. Extremely proud of what these blokes have done. As I said, I've never been involved with a group of men who've united so many people, and you cannot be prouder of it.
Will you stay on, Kristian? Will you?
Oh, that depends if Sika stays.
Kristian, any indication that we'll see like Tonga or Fita back in the red jersey?
No, look, that's not something we've discussed with them at all. I've said a few times, and I didn't mean to brush that off them, Pete, either. I am keen to stay around with Tonga. This experience has been absolutely outstanding. And I think we've really started something. I think it's the beginning of something that really takes Tonga forward in terms of rugby league and as a nation. I've said before, the way forward, I think, is there needs to be some thought put into it by the International Rugby League and by the NRL as to how we keep this momentum going. We certainly need to look at ways that this team can play other Tier 1 nations. That was an outstanding game of footy all the way, regardless of the fact that we were able to find some points late. It was an outstanding tussle every minute of that game. You go back to the New Zealand game, and I'd certainly love to see that as an annual test that happens in New Zealand. These supporters here, I haven't seen anything like that in Australia, and I think we need to bring games here. In terms of your question with Jason and Andrew and those guys, as I said, I haven't discussed one bit with them, what their plans are afterwards. But as I said before, what I do know is they're extremely happy with the decisions they've made. They're extremely happy with what they've done. You've only got to look at Jason and Andrew and the emotion on them, and the way they played, and the way they did absolutely everything they could to try and claw our way back into that game. It means something to them, and that's what matters at the moment.
The amount of support that the Tongans have received from the beginning to the end, would you perhaps like to see, say, Pacific Island Rugby League on the same level as, say, State of Origin?
Well, I think it's got potential to head that way. Origin's obviously something that's been built up over a long period. As I said before, I think obviously Tonga Samoa is a massive clash and something you want to try and see annually. I think you could really build that into, and again, like I said before, a Tonga versus New Zealand game. It's a grudge match now, on the back of this tournament, and I've got no doubt that those guys would, as in New Zealand, would love to play us again to try and get one back over the top of us. And it's the way that we continue to progress is by playing more footy, being looked after a little bit better, so that we can play more footy and we can attract blokes to play for Tonga. And also playing high-level games, which means we need to play nations like New Zealand on a regular basis.
So you said just on the last back to the last moment again. If that happened to Australia, we never hear the end of it. So do you feel Tonga has been robbed in a way?
Yeah, if there was a grand final, they'll go back and look at it. But, I'm still positive that's why they didn't do that.
Is it easier to pick on a Tier 2 Pacific nation? Is that what's happened here?
I'm not too sure, mate. Sometimes the forces go against you, and that's what happened tonight.
Big occasion, mate. Did it affect you guys play in the first half? You put that down to some nervous play in the first 40?
I don't think so, mate. I think we played really well in the first half. We just gave away a few penalties, which led England down into our half and scored some points. But other than enough, I thought we were really good.
Kristian, do you think that England can give Australia a game?
Look, the way they defended tonight, they defended really well. That's obviously what you're going to have to do against Australia. They're going to defend well. They're going to be very, very hard to score points against. And England were very, very tough to score points against tonight. And, talking about the occasion and whether that made us nervous, as I said before, I think for very, very long periods we were on top in that game. And I don't think the occasions affected us. We just didn't quite get some of our execution right tonight at crucial times, and that's what happens in big games. And that's how you win big games, or that's how you don't win big games. But going back to my comments before too, the way that we get to a point where we can win those games is by playing them more often. This group of men don't get the opportunity to play in that kind of game, that kind of atmosphere, as much as your Tier 1 nations certainly do. So if we get that opportunity more often, then we're certainly going to find ways to win those games too.
Kristian, are Australia too good, or when you break them down? You've been saying defence.
Yeah, look, they're a good side, and I haven't had a look at them either, to be honest. You worry about who you're going to play, and I've certainly had good looks at England and New Zealand and all those teams that we're going to come up against to try and find ways where you think they're maybe not as strong as they think they are. But I really haven't had a good look at Australia other than what you've seen against Fiji last night, and they're outstanding. So they're going to be very, very hard to beat. They always are. I'd certainly like to think that England make it a real contest. I think England are going to struggle a little bit to get up after our game tonight too, to be honest. I think we take a fair bit of energy out of them, and we're certainly very, very physical, and they're going to wake up sore.
Kristian, Wayne explained to us earlier what he was talking about last week when he was talking about eligibility.
Yep.
He explained a little bit of it anyway. He reckoned that you should have to stand down for 3 years if you want to change countries. What do you think of that?
Oh, look, what that does, any of those sorts of decisions, is just protect your Tier 1 nations so they continue to be strong, and your Tier 2 nations don't get an opportunity. And if they're going to make those sorts of decisions, we'll make everything equal, and then we actually genuinely see who people want to play for. It's a really any of those sorts of comments I find really funny when you look at the disparity that we've spoken about a number of times in the benefits you get to play for a Tier 1 nation. We can't just gear everything in their favour so that it always stays that way.
Kristian, as a coach, can you just tell us what was going through your head in the last 2 minutes of the game?
That we were going to win. I didn't see how we weren't, to be honest. We had all the running. I could see that England were rattled. They were rattled a number of times in that game, and as I said, it was just our execution at different times that let us down. And I really think, we find a try. We had a couple of opportunities earlier in the game. We find a try at that point. I think you're looking at a very different scoreline. We just really needed that little bit of pressure on them in terms of points ticking over. And I think we were coming home stronger, and we had the opportunity to come home stronger and win the game, but we just didn't find it early enough. At the end of the day, time ran out for us more than anything else.
Okay, guys, we're going to have to wrap it up there. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thanks, fellas.